it does bring up a wider question and debate right now about what's actually causing all these ACL injuries. And there's been a lot of suggestion about retractable pitches. I've seen a lot of people speaking about it over the last couple of months. And I don't know. I don't know the mechanisms behind it. I don't know the reasons for it. But there does seem to be some similarities between Spurs and Real Madrid right now in terms of these ACL injuries. And Spurs and Real Madrid are the only two clubs with retractable pitches. Real Madrid had Rodrigo, Carvajal, Alaba, Militao twice. Thibaut Courtois did it, but that was just before the stadium opened. And a youth player, Juan Martinez, all done their ACLs since Real Madrid's new stadium has opened. And Spurs have obviously had, since the new stadium has opened, how many ACLs have we had? Bentancur, Dragoshin, Maddison, Javi, Odebear. Is there any more?
Kulusevski,
Perisic. You know what I mean? Significant injuries. Is this just coincidence, or is there more to it? Is it to do with this retractable pitch? Why there are so many ACLs going off in these two clubs? Because it's unheard of to have this many in this space of time.
Correct.
And so why is it happening at Real Madrid and why is it happening at Tottenham? The only two teams with retractable pitches.
There might be something to it. I was talking to some fans over the weekend, and one of the fans was putting to me a theory about these retractable pitches that because there isn't actually enough soil underneath the grass in these retractable pitches, because they've got to be a lot thinner than actual normal grass pitches, that can lead to a bit more strain on the knee, because the way that your feet plant it's a bit more solid, because the way your feet plant in the grass, rather than when these other grass pitches are a lot more soil underneath. I don't know. Maybe there's something to that. I mean, that was his theory. Who knows? I mean, look, I would like to think in a perfect world, Tottenham have spent billions of pounds on this stadium. They got the top kind of groundsman in to lay these pitches. They spent millions and millions of pounds doing it. I would like to think
the groundsmen know about injuries and ACLs. You know how to cut grass.
Yeah, but I'm sure. My point is, I'm hoping that they paid a lot of experts lots of money to think about these things, about the likelihood of all these things happening. Knowing Tottenham as well, whether this is something they've overlooked is entirely possible, because there's a lot of things they've overlooked.
It's bad though, because these are two of the richest clubs in European football. Real Madrid, obviously the biggest, and Tottenham, who are in the top 10 richest clubs in world football.
Yeah.
How is this happening to these two clubs specifically? And nobody else. Literally nobody else. Only the two clubs that have retractable pitches. It's just mad. Can it be a coincidence? I don't know if it can. There's got to be something more to it. There's got to be.
A lot of teams have ACL injuries right now. Google it, says TJ.
But as many as these two clubs? Maybe a club will get one. But like 3 in a season, both these clubs have had.
You'd have to do an analysis on every team and how many ACLs and how much of an outlier are us. Definitely, we are an outlier. I would say. I think having that many in the space of 3 years, that is unheard of. Another chat said we don't train on the pitches though; we only play on them.
Mm-hmm. Apparently, with Real Madrid, their training ground, it's not a retractable pitch, but it's a pitch to mimic the Bernabeu. So it's a very similar pitch. Mm-hmm. They've had... So Spurs, the majority of our ACLs have not actually come on our pitch. A lot of them have come at away grounds. But with Real Madrid, the majority of them have actually happened at the Bernabeu, and one of them happened in the training ground. So I'm not sure what to make out of that. This overview here from different sources say the retractable pitch systems installed at Real Madrid and Tottenham are currently under investigation following a high incidence of serious knee injuries, particularly ACL tears among players. Since the installation of the new pitch in 2023, Real Madrid have recorded 7 ACL tears. A significant portion occurred at home or during the training on surfaces designed to replicate the stadium's pitch.
Who's that according to?
So this was, I don't know who it is. But there's a few different sources. I haven't heard about it either.
That would be pretty big news, I would have thought.
Engineering and safety issues. What this says is that reduced soil depth, unlike traditional pitches which typically have 10 inches of soil over a drainage base, retractable pitches are designed to be lightweight. They consist of a few centimeters of soil resting on top of a solid metal plate. The thin layer of soil can lead to rapid compaction, forming a hard, dense surface directly beneath the top layer of turf. When players make quick turns, this setup reduces the required give in the ground, leading to stud entrapment, where the cleat gets stuck rather than releasing, which generates high torque on the knee joint. The compacted nature of these retractable trays is said to mimic the high friction characteristics of artificial turf, which is associated with increased ligament injury rates, particularly when compared to softer, deeper natural turf. I'm not sure where all this information is coming from.
Are these people's theories, or is this looks like they've taken someone's theory and just said
it does seem like that. I'm not sure what these videos are. One of them is from Sporf or someone.
Sporf.
And another one is from some YouTube channel.
I mean, the theories are just theories, but in terms of the actual being an investigation, that would be...
The investigation isn't for Spurs, it's for Real Madrid.
Right.
Real Madrid apparently they're investigating. Tottenham,
and I think it should be investigated. I think no stone should be left unturned right now with what's going on. And if there is a question about the retractable pitch, it should be asked and it should be scrutinised. And I think they should test it and they should see if there's actually legitimacy to this theory. I don't know. It's hard to say exactly if there is anything to it, but I think definitely it's either a heavy coincidence or there's something to this theory, for sure. And with the amount of damage it's being done to us, and as I've said before, knowing Tottenham, it wouldn't surprise me, is yes, we've spent millions getting the best people in the world to lay the pitch and all this kind of stuff, but it was the priority making the pitch easy to move and quick to move so that we can get as many events in as possible, or was the priority to get this pitch the most ready to for elite sports we played on and lacking of risk of injuries and things like that? Was that made a priority when making this pitch? And knowing Tottenham, there's a highly likelihood that was likely secondary or maybe not even considered as a possibility that a pitch could be laid in such a way that it could heighten the risk of injury. Did they even consider that? I would like to think they did. And maybe if you spoke to Levy, who's in the room right now, he would say, of course we looked into that. Of course we spoke to all the professionals and all the best people involved. And we considered everything. And this is the picture we came up with. But maybe in those rooms it was overlooked. And maybe it was like, okay, if we could use this soil, but it'll make it a lot harder to make the pitch retractable. Or we could use this and the soil will be a bit thinner and it'll be maybe a bit harder underneath, but it'll make the pitch a lot more retractable and a lot more easier to get a lot of events in. Maybe that's the way they went in. I'm not in those rooms. We're just speculating. This is wild speculation and theory at the moment. There's nothing to it. But at the moment, the evidence, not evidence, but the correlation that people are drawing is there, that the two teams who do have retractable pitches have a very high number of ACLs. Now, it's also important to note Simmons, Maddison, Bentancur were not at home when it happened. They were all away from home. But Perisic, Kulusevski, who else has done them? Dragoshin, they were all at home.
Odegaard was at home.
Odegaard at home as well. So of the 7 we mentioned, 4 at home, 3 away. So, I don't know.
But it could be as well because they're playing so often on that pitch. It takes a strain on the knee as well. That could be another theory.
We haven't seen any opposition players do their ACL on our pitch, have we?
No, but they play there once a year.
Mm.
We play there 19 times minimum a year. So it could be, and obviously every season as well. So it could be something that just takes its toll on the knee.
there are no such professionals as a medical pitch inspector. Yeah, maybe not. Maybe it's something no one's considered. Maybe it has. Maybe it's, I'm not saying a medical pitch inspector, but someone who considers when you lay the pitch, how you lay it in such a way that doesn't heighten the risk of injury. I'm sure that's something people consider. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's something that they just thought isn't a thing and they've just not considered it. And maybe that's led to this situation where they've laid a pitch which actually increases the pressure on your knees without realising. It's entirely possible.
It is entirely possible. It says here, while some reports suggest injury crisis might be linked to crowded modern football calendar, a growing theory amongst researchers and observers links to pitch mechanics directly to the spikes of ACL tears. Again, I don't know what the source is of that, but I don't know. It's hard to say. Obviously, we don't know. We're just speculating and looking what the internet is saying, but it does seem to be...
Yeah, Kulu got injured on a bad tackle, that is right. Didn't seem to be anything about his...
And Odebear's was an impact injury as well, wasn't it?
Yeah. Although there is also another thing we haven't spoken about, which is also seems to be a theme, which is Dragusin, Kulusevski and Xavi all got back up and were doing a bit of running and jogging and whatever before they realised they'd done an ACL. I think Kulusevski and Dragusin actually came on the pitch. Xavi at one point looked like he was going to come back on the pitch before he fell down. I mean, look, are these medical people doing their job properly? How are they making things worse with some of their checks? I don't know. And it seems something a bit crazy with that, though.
Yeah. I don't know. It could be just like all these things all rolled into one. You know what I mean? It might not be just one thing being the big kind of reason why it's happening. Definitely the schedule, the footballing schedule is hampering a lot of teams. You know, it's not just Tottenham. We're getting the worst of it. But the football schedule, you know, going from the World Club Cup all the way to the World Cup, you know, there's no break for players. And so obviously there's going to be a big upturn in injuries, isn't there?
Yeah, I think when you look at the injuries across football, which has definitely been a problem regardless of ACL, although there has been an uptick in ACL in general, but we are getting more injuries because there's more games. Not only is there more games, the games are more intense than they've ever been. Every footballer is now an athlete. Every manager demands more and more running. You know, they want to run more than the opposition. And as each team runs more, there's more running to be done. It's a bit of a crazy situation. So that's why in the Premier League, every team is now so physical and so athletic because you just need to be to get that edge now.
And it's not sustainable, and they keep just adding more games to the calendar. They just redid the Champions League to add more games into the Champions League and the Europa League and the Conference League and
Club World Cup.
Yeah, it's everything.
The World Cup is even bigger now, and everything. More games. The Nations League, they added that in. They've
even like
everything.
Pre-season friendlies are played with more intensity now than they used to be. Mm-hmm. You know, it's just crazy. Like these pre-season friendlies, they're worth so much to the clubs. They get paid so much to go on this tour, that tour. So they want to put on a show for the customers that are coming to see it. And even them, I've noticed in the last couple of years, have been played with more intensity.
Yeah.
So, I mean, do you remember that Newcastle game as well? You know, post-season friendly Spurs did in Australia. So, I mean, something's got to give. Regardless of the pitch thing, regardless of that, that is the first thing that they need to look at as well, this schedule for the footballers, because it's just going to get worse and worse, these injuries.
100%. It ain't going to let up. I agree with that. But yeah, look, we've the medical department as well at Tottenham. I mean, we seem to get it worse than any other team, though. And it's been going on for years. And what do we... Again, we've spoken about the medical department so much over the last 2 or 3 years, which is not something we want to be talking about as a Tottenham fan channel. We're not experts in the medical field. We don't want to be talking about how they're handling these injuries, but there has to be some sort of a problem here, like how we're handling them, because I know Xavi necessarily wasn't this case, but there's been so many cases this season of players coming back and getting re-injured. There's been now so many cases of players having ACLs and coming back onto the pitch. There's been so many cases of general injuries as well. Like, are the medical department doing their jobs? Are they doing it to the best ability? Are they the best people for the job? Are we just extremely unlucky? And every single injury we're getting, there's nothing the medical department are doing, and they're doing the best they can. Or is there lots of things they're missing out on here? Are there lots of things they're not doing properly? Are they not getting these players prepared in the proper way to make sure they're avoiding injuries? Are they bringing them back too early? Are they making sure that when they're brought back, they stay back? There's so many issues going on. We've also heard from so many players, well, not heard directly, but we've heard from other people that these players don't rate the medical team. They've gone off to other external people to get their medical treatment.
Yeah, when Romero came back from that injury, he thanked the Argentinian medical department.
Yeah,
for getting him back fit.
We've heard Richarlison doesn't rate them. There's a lot of people don't rate our medical department, which is nuts considering the amount of money this club has, and to surely the medical department right now should be seen as the most important thing. It's probably even more important than a transfer budget right now, is getting this medical department correct, because it doesn't matter how many players we sign, we keep losing them all to injury. So this medical department is failing at its job. 100%. And now this is not me saying they don't know what they're doing in there, or they're all clueless. I don't know. Maybe if you go inside there, they'll explain how that everything's just really unlucky. There's nothing they can really do. But from the outside looking in, from what a medical department should be doing, they don't seem to be doing their job.
No. They seem to be doing more hurt than good. That's the reality. They're supposed to be healing our players. It seems like they're doing their best to not get our players back, you know.
Even Sarr, he just came back from a shoulder injury. He's done the same thing, and he's back injured again.
Yeah. What a mess. What a mess, man. If we didn't have enough problems, we have to worry about the bloody medical team at this club.
Tango says, no, Sim, we employ educated and trained medical professionals, not witch doctors. They can't make the players invincible. Blame players for being weak pussios.
Oh, that's rubbish.
I think when a player is coming back from a certain injury and he returns and re-injures that same injury, I don't understand how it can't be on the medical staff when that's happened repeatedly. It's happened repeatedly, time and time again.
Mm-hmm.
That has to be on how they're recovering them and when they're bringing them back. That has to be on them. I don't see anyone else it could be on when it's happening so often.
Yeah. Yeah, look, there's different things that go into it in terms of managers as well, and are they fighting against the medical team to get the players back quicker? Don't know. It's hard to say.
I'm sure they are. All managers want their players fit, and they're going to try and push them, but it's on the medical team to be strong. It's on the medical team, because when it's happening time after time, the medical team at some point have to take responsibility for that.
Yeah, I agree. I think most cases are probably on the medical team, but there was that case with Van de Ven that Ange clearly said, you know, it was his mistake.
Yeah.
So is that on the medical team?
Yeah.
Why?
I think they have some blame. They should have said, look, if you're going to play him, you take him off, or you don't play him.
They did say that to him.
Okay, so that was one element. That was an Ange mistake. That was his mistake.
So were there other kind of examples of stuff like
but
that?
It's repeated. It's just not. These aren't one-off examples. These are repeated examples. I don't see, and it's different managers as well.
Yeah.
I don't see how it can just look. Every manager, of course, wants their players fit, and they're going to try and push them. And that was a very specific scenario, that one. But I think in general, when it's happening repeatedly, the medical team have to take responsibility. If they're either allowing it to happen, or they're not doing it properly, so that when players do come back, they're staying fit. They have to take responsibility of that at the end of the day. They can't just keep getting... If it is happening, that they're just getting pushed over by managers, and this keeps happening because the managers are pushing it, then even in that scenario, the medical team have to take responsibility for allowing it to happen and not putting their foot down at some point. They have to.
Mm. Whatever's happening, it's an absolute mess, and they need to get to the bottom of it. ASAP. Otherwise, this is just going to keep happening and keep happening. We'll end up getting into the championship and getting a whole squad injured in the championship, and then get relegated from the championship.
Yep.
Mad.
And we get more games next season exactly the championship, which is, they say it's one of the toughest leagues to get out of because of just a relentless schedule.
Mm. Yeah. Well, anyway, it's hard to put your finger on exactly what is actually going wrong because we don't actually know. But it's easy to point the fingers. But the fingers surely have to be pointed at the medical team. Surely.